Listeners, we all have been there, where our teachers skipped that one very chapter during our 8th standard or ninth standard. And we all used to giggle amongst ourselves and whispering amongst ourselves what the topic was all about. But growing up, we often realize its importance, but sadly, the importance of sexual health or sex education has always been lost in the whispers or giggling in the classrooms. And that's exactly what we are here to do today. We are here to talk about sexual health, and we have with us Dr. Mohit Bhatia, who has been working in the field for over 20 years and has helped establish some of the leading brands, especially in the field of sexual wellness, one of them being Dr. Snug. And we have Dr. Mohit to help us navigate this, realm of sexual health, especially for men, where we are gonna unravel the mysteries of sexual health for all the genders out there. Welcome, Dr. Mohit.
Thank you, Pulkit, for such a warm welcome. I think nobody could have put it better on how to begin the challenges or the reason why this talk is so important. We have a cultural blockage or at times a dilemma coming up, especially I would say becomes a hypothetical situation wherein we come from the land which gave the word Kama Sutra, but at the same time, we have such wondrous Ellora, Ajanta cave engravings, but at the same time, we are so afraid to talk about this topic. We are so afraid to talk about the challenges we come across the realm that it becomes not only a physical issue but a very concerning mental issue as well for both, or I would say for all the sexes, be it male, female, or transgenders. There's something we have to begin to talk about. I understand that yes, culturally we are a bit conservative society, but we would have to come out and open. We would have to start at least raising our concerns, or at least start to talk about it so that it does not become a silent epidemic, what WHO has been warning about.
Yep. Dr. Mohit, I totally relate with you and agree with you with what you just said. For me, a lot of information around, I would say the human body parts, the sexual parts that either female or male has. There was a reproduction chapter in the school, but even before that, most of the, I would say, misinformation came to me through my friends. And even for them, most of this information was hearsay or whatever they were able to do with the limited Google search engine was giving out as results way back in 2004 to 2005. That's when I completed my, 8th standard. And I still remember, बड़ा secretly होके हम लोग बात करते थे, आपस में हंस रहे होते थे. And when the teacher used to teach, it was all just, okay, ये डायग्राम है वेजाइना का, ये मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम है, एंड दैट्स इट. उसके आगे कोई बात नहीं करता था. What's male sexual health, what's female sexual health, why menstruation happens, what are periods, what's menopause. No discussions around this. There was nobody to tell me
See
the
that
changes. Yeah.
See, that's the whole challenge what's been there. So it's not that we're not being taught about it, but one, when we're being taught about it, the openness to talk or raise your queries is still lacking. That when you said that shyness or that, जैसे कहते हैं कि थोड़ा सा खिलखिला लिए, थोड़ा सा हंस लिए, थोड़ा मजाक बन गया, but that reserve reason of that reservation is because we think that if we go and ask these questions out in journal, out in public, there's going to be a lot of hue and cry, starting from the kids in our class, from our friend circles, from maybe the friends in opposite sex, of being talking about it. What is this guy doing? Is doesn't he have some manners, etc., etc. There's a lot of ways people can put it through. जो चीज हम मिस कर जाते हैं कि हम उस चीज को इतना दबा रहे हैं या इतना छुपा रहे हैं कि जो उसकी जेन्युइन नॉलेज हमें होनी चाहिए as humans, as males and females, who are transgressing into that age, from our teenage to young adults, to, I would say, somebody who's very active in the reproductive cycles in males and females around that late 20s, early 30s section, still misses out. People expect us to be reserved till the day of our marriage. People, I know culturally our generation has moved way ahead. India has progressed. We don't think on those lines too much, but still, matlab, the expectation of society in general is that you should be kind of conserved till the day of your marriage, and suddenly on the day of your marriage, on the night, have your suhagrat and go ahead and move wonderfully during your sex life. And what happens with this phase or this kind of expectation or this kind of assumption is there's a lot of pressure on both the partners for the process of intercourse, for the process of sex per se, if we use that word, or in general for consummation of marriage, I would say, or for consummation of relationship. I would not even say marriage is the only way out there, but yes, that relationship consummation is something which is being linked about. Uh, the society is becoming more open. The world is becoming more connected. What is still missing or what should be taught rather is that's just 10 to 20% off when we say sexual health. So your intercourse is not the only thing being talked about. What this internet penetration or the ease of access to porn, I would say, has done is set up very wrong assumptions in common man's mind of
Yeah.
what the process should be, what it could be, or what you have to expect out of it. Those challenges have, I think, raised more and more challenges rather than giving a possible solutions. So what could have been a possible way to do sex education? What could have been a possible way to teach what uh, not maybe too early, but somewhere in our teens of the right way to move forward is something which we would have to start thinking about. Some places there it's already begin, but I think we as a society would have to come forward. We would have to accept the challenges. And sometimes, coming from this field, since I've been in the field, we have seen challenges. My co-founder, she has been practicing in this, Dr. Garima, for a long while now, and the kind of queries she gets as a gynecologist, as a practicing counselor on this aspect is you'll be surprised. It could even be funny, it could even be concerning of what people are doing.
Yeah.
Uh, there have been different ways to show that challenges. Some movies have tried to do it. Dr. G did some exceptions. There are few web series which have started coming out now of what challenges both males and females face during the process. The performance pressure per se, so there are a
Yeah.
lot of things wherein it's not related to one aspect of it. When we say sexual wellness, first of all, it means that understanding your body, understanding your capabilities for the process of intercourse or for the process of the sexual satiety, sexual satisfaction during the process. Then even understanding that what our different body structures are. For males, it's very different. For females, it's very different. What
Yep.
sort of I would say process needs to be followed to have the best satisfactory responses for the process for that consummation. So ये सब चीजों की ना बात करेंगे, challenges निकलेंगे. Of course, there would be couples who would have talked to each other, they would have helped each other out and kind of realizing where what their ways of satisfying each other are. But majority of us, during what we have seen in our practice, still don't talk.
Yep.
Intercourse just means okay, you are having sex, that's it. And once one member gets excited, he'll half the times is not even bothered that the other has got excited or not. That's again a big concern because what it leads to frustration. It leads to, if you're not talking about it, mental pressure. It leads to depression at times. There is a lot of correlation in between the majority of these mental challenges being there. Similarly, on the counteract, if somebody has issues like which are clinical issues, which are, I would say, per se diagnosable and correctable aspects, of the disease like premature ejaculation or erectile dysfunction or these kind of challenges, there's a lot of pressure a male could take on his health. He might be concerned he'll not be able to perform on his work abilities. He will not be focused on, or at times what it leads to is it leads to over aggression
Yep.
because he has that performance pressure. He is not able to perform. He kind of takes out that frustration somewhere else. It's a lot of the places we've seen when we talk to people who have anger issues, who have very deep rooted depression or at time low self esteem. All this could be linked to disactivities, or I would say not adequate sexual responses. So there are a lot of ways to correct these, and I would say exercise, yoga, health, our diets, modification in these. There's a lot of Kegel exercises, etc. There's a lot of ways to work around these. But uh, along with all this, along with even the pharmaceutical medications which are available, the nutraceutical supplements which are available, what is most important is your thought process, is your mental ability, is the comfort of bringing the challenge out first. So once you know what the challenge is, then only you'll be able to find out the solutions to it. Or at least when you are discussing it with somebody, somebody could raise that, okay, this could be a challenge. You might not be thinking on those lines, but potentially there could be. For
Agree.
example, we are seeing a fall in fertility rate.
Yep.
We are seeing with obesity increasing, WHO has warned that the sperm count globally is going down, the average counts. So in next 20, 30 years, they're worried that half of the population of the world is going to be infertile in terms of clinically. So we would have to think on either kind of recovering our body abilities or being more physically active, being more conscious about it. At the same time, medically or policy making wise, I would say even at government levels, we would have to come up with aspects that if it persists, there could be challenges where we would have to be prepared around the in vitro fertilizations of those processes if we have to maintain our rates. So there are a lot of implications of sexual health on various aspects, not only. So we say, okay, it could be on the individuals, but I'm saying on the society as a whole, on the policy making level, it could make a difference if we're talking about it more openly, because then only it will reach out to the people who are supposed to be making those policies, who are supposed to be talking or listening to these things, where the society is heading, what the challenges are coming. Well, I am really glad that a couple of years, within the last couple of years, WHO has come on very openly and actively around it. They've started talking, discussing. Mental wellness issues have started raising this aspect as well. Although it was
Yep.
being talked about in theoretical takes, but when it used to come to practical discussions and all, it used to be the last topic. But somehow it's escalated up the ladder. People are now taking it up. कि इसकी बात करते हैं, एक दूसरे से डिस्कस करें, कुछ इश्यूज को सॉर्ट आउट करें, लेट्स फाइंड आउट वेज एंड मीन्स ऑफ हाउ इट कुड बी डन. And it's a collective thing. There's no one brand or one, I would say, area which could be done. So it's not the process of just selling you, okay, well, that typical male shakti ads which come on our medias late nights, कि ठीक है आप ये गोली खाएं 10 मिनट में आपको ये बेनिफिट. Those are not the ways. Okay, people are doing it, that's good, but what I think as a physician or as a person who is more concerned towards the healthcare, preventive healthcare in general, the right way should be awareness. The right way should be reaching out to more number of people, making aware not only on the information, also on the misinformation, because social media can be a dual-edged sword. Whatever we are talking today, there'll be a number of people who will challenge me of what this guy is saying, yaar, aise thodi hota hai, and all that. But trust me, matlab, we need to get onto that mode, that finding the right information there and trying to see कि हाँ कैसे हम उसका benefit ले सकते
Agree. Agree. I will go back to the point where you talked about marriage as one of the places where it's expected with either of the genders to
हैं.
stay
Right.
virgin till that point, till the point you're married. But you know, till since I my teenage and even today, I often think मैं सोचता हूँ our parents, refrain us from meeting the opposite gender, opposite sex out there, कि
True.
उनके साथ घूमने नहीं जाना, लड़कियों के साथ ज्यादा देर नहीं जाना. For girls, it is कहीं लड़के अगर पार्टी में जा रहे हैं तो लड़कों के साथ ज्यादा लेट तक बाहर नहीं रहना है. And somewhere or the other, and it's sort of a societal norm that has come into picture. Now, since your parents have, approved a guy or a girl, it is acceptable by them to sleep on the first night. You don't know even person. In lot of Indian marriages, I believe the courtship period, if it's the right term I'm using, from meeting the guy, your spouse, to the day you're married, or the so-called suhagrat, it's less than 2 months at times. And I don't think that's enough time to know each other.
See, that's what I was saying. So that's where I had that initial phrase, you are expected to sleep with a stranger the moment you get married.
Yeah,
The fundamental thing is that you need to be comfortable with each other. Both of you need to have that consensus, that agreement to have a hold on each other's body, and to make sure that both the sexes derive the same experience out of the whole intercourse or the whole process per se. So it's just not that, okay, since we have consumed the marriage, let's have that intercourse and be done with it. It's the process. The process is everything. It's the way you're talking about it,
yeah,
the way you're discussing, the foreplay per se. Then the process of intercourse, of course, would come in, and the experience afterwards as well, of discussing, of being with each other, the hugging, the cuddling, everything forms a part of it. You cannot miss out on one aspect of it or two aspects of it and say, ki, okay, fatafat, that's it, done. Uh, Similarly, a person, how he wants to be, whether he wants to be sexually active, he wants to restrain himself till his marriage, or he wants to, even I would say, masturbate at times. So if you, let's accept it, it's a physiological process. Person thinks about it, he masturbates. These all aspects have to come out from his will. He has to be consciously aware of these, and not from peer pressure, societal pressure, or in general because there is a certain age and way to do it. That's where you accept your bodies, you accept your sexuality, whether you are straight, whether you are, I would say, from the LGBTQ community, whatever your experience is, if you like somebody, you like somebody. It's a hormonal process, it's a physiological process of the body. It's not the same with everybody. Each and every individual is different.
yeah,
We have to accept on those lines. We have to accept the processes. I would say, well, there's a lot of, I am using the process word a lot because what it's not a one shot solution. And possibly anybody who says there is a one shot solution, I would say he is the one guy you should not be listening to. There is no one solution. There is no immediate respite. There is no one tablet, one injection, one solution formula, or one mantra formula available for this in any of the sciences, be it yogic, be it Ayurvedic, be it natural, be it plant based, be it the pharmaceutical process. So
uh,
I would say from allopathy to Ayurveda to or to not being the expert in all of these, but having an holistic approach, I would say you would have to have a integrated approach in terms of counseling, in terms of uh, the behavioral changes, lifestyle modifications, the dietary modifications,
yeah,
your physical ability, at the same time taking in into exercises by different forms like yoga and these sciences. Similarly, adapting into supplements which could boost your levels. You could take the supplements, you could even take by food means. So if you're able to reach out similar levels through good food, good diet, why not?
Mhm, mhm.
And then if none of those is working, then pharmaceuticals or surgical procedures are the way to go, and then those aspects could be looked into. But that's the process or hierarchy you should be looking at. It has to be an integrated approach on that level.
I understand. Uh, Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm now gonna be looking at male age by age, or the age brackets, coming in picture. Um, so the sexual health for a male or any gender would even start before they hit puberty, if I'm not wrong. And I will tell you where I'm coming from, and then you can probably correct me if I have, put it incorrectly. There's a concept of good touch and bad touch, which has, recently been taught at schools, in the primary schools right now. Uh, I don't think so. It used to be a concept around a decade back. It has recently come up with an increasing number of child abuse cases. And I was, when I became aware that most of the cases which are highlighted in the media are child abuse cases where, unfortunately, it's a baby girl or a female being, going through that cruel process, or cruel thing that's happening. But there are a lot of male children as well who go through child abuse. So
I would, yeah, please
yeah,
continue.
I'll just complete my question. So, if you can share what would be a good touch or bad touch, and if possible in Hindi, because I want a larger audience to be able to consume this. What would be a good touch or a bad touch for a male child out there?
See, as far as it comes before puberty for a child, whether a male or a female, uh, touch remains touch. When we say, so more than male or female, the aspect here is the good or bad word out there. So हम जो बात करते हैं कि गुड टच क्या है, गुड टच है जब कोई आपको प्यार से, एक साफ नीयत से सहला रहा है, बच्चे को लाड कर रहा है, बच्चे से बात कर रहा है, माँ बाप का प्यार, रिश्तेदारों में भाई बहन, जो जनरल, जिसमें कोई ऐसी इंटेंट बुरी नहीं है, is the aspect. The good touch is when you're doing it on the appropriate, I would say, आपको ये भी ध्यान रखना है आप गाल पे बात कर रहे हैं। जब बैड टच की बात करती है, तो somebody trying to kiss on lips, somebody touching on your private part, somebody trying to squeeze your bums and all that, ये बहुत सी ऐसे, मतलब इस इज नॉट, आई एम जस्ट सेइंग फ्यू ऑफ दोज एग्जांपल्स। ऐसे बहुत से एग्जांपल्स हैं, चाहे वो मेल है चाहे फीमेल है, जो आपको अनकंफर्टेबल कर रहे हैं, जो आप को लग रहा है कि दिस इज नॉट व्हाट इट शुड बी, इज समथिंग फॉर बोथ मेल एंड फीमेल यू शुड बी वेरी अबाउट। व्हेन आई से, हमें इसका ध्यान रखना है, हमें बच्चों को सुनना पड़ेगा, कि बच्चे हमेशा घर पर अपने पास वाले लोगों को बताएंगे अगर उन्हें कोई भी चीज अनकंफर्टेबल लग रही है। हमारी प्रॉब्लम क्या होती है, हम एक सोसाइटल माइंडसेट में बैठे होते हैं, जब हम बोलते हैं नहीं नहीं तुम्हें कुछ नहीं पता, हमें पता है एज पेरेंट्स ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। हमें उस अपने मेंटल ब्लॉक को हटा के, वी हैव टू बी नॉट, आई वुड से, हमें शकी नहीं बनना है, बट साथ ही साथ हमें इस चीज को अवेयर रहना है कि अगर बच्चा किसी इवन जान पहचान या किसी स्ट्रेंजर के बारे में कुछ बता रहा है, उसको एक पेशेंट हियरिंग दें, सुने, समझने की कोशिश करें वो क्या कह रहा है। स्कूल्स में पढ़ाया जा रहा है गुड टच का, बैड टच का, और ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ गर्ल्स की ही बात, हमारा जो मीडिया है वो कब चाहते ना चाहते हुए थोड़ा सा एक तरफ ज्यादा बायस हो जाता है, बिकॉज हमारे इंसिडेंट्स ऑफ अब्यूज इन बोथ एडल्ट्स एंड children are more shown or more gruesome, I would say, when it comes to females। ये हमारी सोसाइटी में आज की डेट में एक बहुत बड़ा डेमोनिक फीचर आ गया है। हम ऐसे कभी भी नहीं थे, संस्कृति हमारी कुछ और ही थी, बट अभी ये इंसिडेंसेस बहुत ज्यादा हो रहे हैं, तो लोगों को ध्यान रखना है, बट साथ में ये भी जानना चाहिए कि अगर लड़कों का ऐसा कम आ रहा है तो क्या कम है या कम बताए जा रहे हैं। और ज्यादातर अगर आप इसको डेप्थ में उतर के देखेंगे, तो वो कम बताया जा रहा है। लोगों को लगता है कि बॉयज के बारे में ऐसे बताएंगे पता नहीं क्या होगा, या हम ऐसे कैसे, इसको तो ऐसे ही लग रहा होगा, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है। लड़का लड़के को क्यों टच करेगा, या ऐसा कोई क्यों करेगा, कोई एडल्ट या एक फीमेल बच्चे को ऐसा, ऐसा नहीं है हमारे लिए, वो मजाक का भी बन जाता है। स्पेशली जब हम छोटे बच्चों की बात करते हैं तो हमें ये बहुत ध्यान रखने वाली बात आ जाती है। बहुत सारी ऐसी स्टेटमेंट्स हम मजाक मजाक में पास कर जाते हैं एज मेल्स और फीमेल्स ऑन द स्मॉल स्मॉल चिल्ड्रन, स्पेशली व्हेन इट्स मेल बॉयज। वो हमारे वर्ड्स उनको मेंटल स्टिग्मा भी दे सकते हैं, वो चीज का भी हमें ध्यान रखना पड़ता है। तो इट्स जस्ट अबाउट बीइंग कॉन्शियस, आई थिंक इट्स जस्ट अबाउट बीइंग ओपन टू लिसनिंग, open to your surroundings and see what's happening around, and accepting that yes, there could be elements which are not so positive on these aspects. So
Agreed.
मुझे इसमें मतलब that's what I think कि मेल्स में हो रहा है, बट बताना में लोग झिझक जाते हैं, शर्मा जाते हैं, या कुछ लोग डर जाते हैं। अब उनके अपने अपने डर हैं, वो उस रिपोर्टिंग को, उस नंबर्स को कम दिखा देता है।
I believe reporting the low numbers is a phenomenon happening for all the genders out there. Media somewhere or the other requires TRP, and they only want the sensational news, which gets them more viewership on their channels.
See, as a society, I think we kind of hide these facts. हमें लगता है कि कुछ हद तक उसको सोसाइटी जस्टिफाई भी कर देती है कि उस बच्चे की लाइफ पे आगे क्या होगा। हमारे यहाँ का जो सोसाइटल प्रोसेस है, थ्रू द channels of police, through the level of courts, the judiciary, is very challenging. It's not a easy adaptability for the kids or the young adults, or even I would say the adults per se. The experience of uh, those, uh, I would say, miss experience being repeated over and over again, to kind of go through the process of explaining it over and over, उसके लिए एक बहुत बड़ा मेंटल स्टिग्मा बन जाता है। एंड ये स्टिग्मा ही है, ये डर ही है जो हमें इसे अंडर रिपोर्ट करने को पुश कर देता है। क्योंकि एज अ सोसाइटी वी आर नॉट वेरी एक्सेप्टिंग, वी आर स्टिल इन द फेस ऑफ फ्रेमिंग द विक्टिम, और
Yep.
वी आर स्टिल इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ ब्लेमिंग द विक्टिम कि इसने ऐसा कुछ किया होगा। uh, if it's for adults, it becomes on the dresses, the way they walk, the way they talk in terms of girls. If it happens to the boy, then maybe he's not straight, that's why the different kind of reasons keep coming in। ultimately वो हम विक्टिम पे ही किसी ना किसी तरीके से पिन अप करने की कोशिश करते हैं। हम विक्टिम को ही उस एस्पेक्ट में क्रूसीफाई कर देते हैं, या उसको एक्सप्लॉइट कर देते हैं कि वो आज हर कोई बताने को ही डर रहा। हमें ये लगता है कि अगर यही एक थोड़ी ओपन सोसाइटी है, या थोड़ी अब्जॉर्बिंग सोसाइटी हो जाएगी, हम लोग थोड़ा ज्यादा उस चीज को अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे, एक दूसरे को समझेंगे, एक दूसरे को ऐसी निगाह से नहीं देखेंगे जहां अगले को शर्म आए या अगले को डर लगे, तो हम लोग एक बेहतर, कल्चरली बेटर सोसाइटी बन पाएंगे।
And I was recently listening to a podcast on YouTube. I'm skipping the name of the podcaster, but he had invited a guest on his channel, and this was a story being shared by a boy of his childhood when he was just, I believe, 7 or 8 years old, where one of the neighbors, a girl probably around 18 or 19 years of age, 10 years elder to him, sexually exploited him. And that completely changed the demeanor of that boy from being a, always too energetic, always happy, always playing around. He became an introvert. He was always in his own mindset, not talking to anybody. How can parents seeing these telltale signs really make a child comfortable to open up to them? Because often what happens is, as you also mentioned, that parents just shrug it off. And mostly, I've seen in the cases of male child as well, just keep it under the carpet because ladka hai to that machoism is required. Like even a lot of instances, I have few things coming up as we move towards the puberty age and the teenage. For the male, sexual activities are often put in a bracket of machoism or strength out there. Whereas for the females, it's always at a point of very sensitive thing. अगर हिंदी में बोलूँ तो बड़ा कोमल उसमें रखा जाता है, लाइक इट्स पुट इन दैट मैनर. आई बिलीव इट्स इक्वल फॉर बोथ द जेंडर्स और ऑल द जेंडर्स आउट देयर. इट्स नॉट कि किसी के लिए बहुत ज्यादा है, किसी के लिए बहुत कम है. सो व्हाट आर योर थॉट्स लाइक, एंड हाउ कैन पेरेंट्स बी अ कैटलिस्ट ओवर हियर, कि पेरेंट्स कैसे एक चेंज मेकर का रोल प्ले कर सकते हैं, देयर चिल्ड्रन ओपन अप टू देम.
सी एज द बिगेस्ट एस्पेक्ट आई से कि पेरेंट्स के लिए कैटलिस्ट बनना बहुत इजी है अगर वो ऑब्जर्वेंट है, अगर वो एक्टिव लिसनर है, एक बच्चे के साथ ऐसा रिलेशन बना रहे हैं जब बच्चा उनको आके बताने में कंफर्टेबल है। हाँ, आई अंडरस्टैंड जो आप आज सिनेरियो बता रहे हो, हमारे पास ऐसे क्लिनिक में बहुत से केसेस आते हैं। So when we start counseling on these aspects, when you start discussing the cases, you get to hear a lot of these experiences from your male colleagues who had such experiences in their childhood, or some of the colleagues whose children has faced this. They have come and started talking. They came with some other issue. They came with a simple issue कि बच्चा बहुत रिजर्व रहना शुरू हो गया है, बच्चा एकदम से बात नहीं कर रहा है, या बच्चा पढ़ाई में बहुत अच्छा था, आजकल जाने पता नहीं क्या हो गया है, पढ़ता तो है बट कहीं गुम गुम सा रह रहा है। जब आप उससे बात करना शुरू करते हैं, एंड आई एम श्योर अ लॉट ऑफ माय कलीग्स इन द फील्ड ऑफ साइकोलॉजी एंड साइकेट्री वुड एग्री टू दिस, दैट दिस इज अ वेरी कॉमन ऑब्जर्वेशन। जब आप उनसे बात करते हो, जब उनके एक्सपीरियंसेस तक पहुंचते हैं, तो वो कहीं ना कहीं एक चाइल्डहुड ट्रॉमा है, एक एब्यूज है ऑफ अ सेक्सुअल नेचर फ्रॉम ईदर ऑफ द सेक्सेस। हम लोग मिस रिपोर्ट कर जाते हैं इस मामले में भी कि हम हमेशा यही सोचते हैं कि मेजॉरिटी द एक्सप्लॉइटर इज ऑलवेज मेल। दैट अगेन इज अ प्रेटी easy misunderstanding to have, a easier assumption to have, but रियलिटी काफी अलग है इससे, स्पेशली जब हम छोटे बच्चों की या टीनेज की बात करते हैं। Adults may I still feel that yes, majority of these aspects have come from, especially when it comes to abuse, the exploiter dominantly has come from a particular sex, especially the male sex. But in terms of when you talking about children, especially pre-pubertal children, many of them have faced these challenges from their elder male and female colleagues equally. So that, and majority of the times it's somebody known to them,
Mhm, mhm,
uh, an acquaintance, a neighbor, a relative, or somebody working at their place. uh, सो हमें उनको उस कंफर्ट जोन में रखना है बच्चों को कि वो बता पाए, एट द सेम टाइम खुद ऑब्जर्वेंट रहना है कि उनके बिहेवियर में कोई ऐसे चेंजेस तो नहीं आ रहे हैं जहां से ऐसा कोई रीजन हो। अगर हम उस बिहेवियरल चेंजेस को नोटिस कर रहे हैं तो हम उनसे बात करेंगे तो कहीं ना कहीं बच्चा बताएगा। हो सकता है इमीडिएटली ना बताए, कई बार ऐसा भी होता है कि थोड़ा दिन रुक के बताएगा, बट हमें उसको वो मौका देते रहना है, हमें उसको वो रिसोर्सेज देते रहना है कि जहाँ पे वो इन चीज़ों को डिस्कस कर सके। दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट। it those resources could be anybody, not always parents, it could even be teachers, it could even be somebody whom he finds as a colleague whom here he can confront. Even children do that. So you have to listen if somebody of that sort also comes and complains कि बच्चा आपका इस टाइप का कुछ बोल रहा है, आप प्लीज नोटिस कीजिए। सो अगर आपके नोटिस में कोई ऐसी चीज लाई जा रही है, एज पेरेंट्स आई थिंक हमें सबसे बड़ा वो है कि अगर हमारी ऑब्जर्वेशन से कुछ मिल रहा है, दैट्स वन फैक्टर, बट एट द सेम टाइम अगर हमारे नोटिस में कुछ लाया जा रहा है, हम उसे अंडरमाइन ना करें, एटलीस्ट उसको एक ओपन माइंड के साथ देखें, इवेलुएट करें, नॉट क्रूसीफाई करें, बिकॉज वो कई बार बच्चों को नहीं पता होता है, वो तो किसी और एडल्ट की भी लाइफ को हम रिस्क पे डाल देंगे, तो उसकी पूरी एक सोशल इमेज को रिस्क पे डाल देंगे। बट 90% of the cases, as we say, the child always speaks the truth. He doesn't know those intricacies of lying and creating false scenarios. सो हमें उस एस्पेक्ट में सुन के समझना चाहिए and हमें पता लग जाता है, मतलब हमें, व्हेन आई से हमें, इट मींस द पेरेंट्स, द पीपल हु आर वेल acquainted with their child, they'll always get to know that okay, there is something wrong there.
Understood. Understood. Moving on, Dr. Mohit, I would like to understand one is today, in recent 1 or 2 years, we have started seeing the early onset of puberty happening. And the second part to this is if you can, help understand how a male's body changes as they enter puberty and what sexual health means for them at this age.
Okay, so number one, there is a pre-conceived notion, जो मुझे लगता है हमें इस टाइम पर तोड़ देना चाहिए कि प्यूबर्टल एज एक फिक्स है, कि एक 14 साल पर जाके ही बच्चा मेच्योर होगा, या 13 साल पर उसमें प्यूबर्टल चेंजेस आएंगे। आज हम लोग देख रहे हैं क्लिनिकली अर्ली प्यूबर्टी इज ऑल्सो कमिंग इन।
Yeah.
So we are seeing cases where a child who's 10, 11 years old has started showing signs of puberty. And at the same time, the typical numbers of that 13, 14 years where the changes are more evident is always there. But हमें जो मेजर चीज है कि उस एज ग्रुप में जो चेंजेस हैं इन देयर सोशल साइकिल इज वन एस्पेक्ट। इन प्यूबर्टी में हम बात करें बॉडी में, जैसे आप पूछ रहे हैं कि चेंजेस आते हैं, तो देयर आर सिंपलर चेंजेस लाइक देयर hair growth increases. So when testosterone level rises in the body, usually what happens is your body hairs would increase. At the same time, your hairs on your scalp would start reducing. It's a process in the terms of testosterone level. If it is too accelerated or too high, it could even lead to hair fall. So those are signs. उससे घबराना नहीं, but body hairs, facial hairs, mustache, beard coming in is one aspect. Your genitalia के अराउंड, आपके पेनिस के अराउंड जो ग्रोथ हेयर्स की आनी शुरू हो जाती है अराउंड योर क्रॉच एरिया, दैट बिकम्स वेरी एविडेंट, दैट्स देयर। Second thing, once a person is, I would say, experienced to the process of hard-ons, or once he starts getting those, so early morning are usually the signs when they have it. So there, because the testosterone follows a circadian rhythm, so it's around that 4 a.m., 3 a.m. kind of timings when usually your testosterone levels get higher. That's when the vasoconstriction happen, and usually you'll see a hard on coming to the child. That's when, if the child is not aware, वो थोड़ा घबराता भी है, उस चीज को छुपाने की कोशिश करेगा। हमें वो चीज का थोड़ा ध्यान रखना है, उनको बताना है कि ये चेंजेस आएंगी, इन चेंजेस से कैसे रिलीव किया जा सकता है। सो अ पर्सन कैन मिक्सचरेट, गिव हिज बॉडी सम मेंटल रिलैक्सेशन, इट calms down. At the same time, if somebody who has entered into the process of masturbation, we have to make him explain that okay, that is also a normal process, physiological process of relieving yourself from that genital tension, I would say. तो वो चीज को हवा ना बना के उस चीज को बताना बहुत जरूरी है। At the same time, yes, this is something which a person should not become habitual of. That's where it becomes worrisome. What happens is कि हम उसको इतना स्टिग्मेटिक कर देते हैं कि वो इतना डर के, इतना छुप के करते हैं कि कोई उसको बताना नहीं चाहता। दैट सो दैट्स, आई वुड से, मतलब आई वुड अज्यूम कि हमारे और आपके टाइम पे दैट वाज द फेज व्हेन दैट एक्सपोजर स्टार्टेड हैपनिंग
Yeah.
around that age of 13, 14 years. छुप छुप के people would try to see different magazines, adult magazines, pages here and there, some news, some Google data, although उस time पर internet was not that fast and easily available. Then trying to access pawns from their peers, from their seniors of those. So there are different, हमें ये समझना पड़ेगा अपने सर्कल्स में कि आप एक्सपोजर नहीं रोक पाओगे। आज जहाँ इंफॉर्मेशन अबंडेंस है, आप किसी भी लेवल का एक्सपोजर नहीं रोक पाओगे। आपके लिए बेहतर ये है कि आप वो एक्सपोजर जो है वो पॉजिटिव एक्सपोजर दें, या आप वो एक्सपोजर जो है वो लर्निंग की तरफ दें, वो अवेयरनेस की तरफ दें, ना कि रिस्ट्रिक्टिव होके जहां बच्चा कुछ भी गलत सीख रहा है और वो गलत बिकॉज वो किसी से बात नहीं कर रहा है, किसी से डिस्कस नहीं कर रहा है, वो गलत कोई अपना मेन मान के बैठ गया। So I'll give you a brief example. Not only in teen, even in today's healthy adults, the biggest challenge which comes is people's expectation of how long uh, the intercourse or how long the erection of a male would be versus a female. So they are like half an hour, 40 minutes, this thing, because porn shows it like that.
Yeah.
That's what they do know is biologically or medically, and 5 to 8 minutes of erection for a male or up to 12 minutes is good enough. It's pretty satisfactory response. Similarly, in terms of people would usually there'll be a masochistic measure would be the size of your penis. The size matters. That image, that notion is what, so people would start thinking, okay, ये तो ऐसे है, हमारा size कम है. These are the usual queries we get on day-to-day basis in our chatbots. So the moment we open up our chatbots for any queries, the first queries would be what's the appropriate size, what's the timeline we should be having. It's different. So for females, it's a 35-40 minute process. For males, it's a 8 to 12 minute process. For females, foreplay is the most enjoyable part of the process. For males, rather, it's the climax. Of course, there is pleasure which comes to both at climax. That's a factor, but for males, it's a much quicker and much focused around the intercourse process, or the process where you are somewhere surrounded around your penis. But for females, it's not so. It's the touch, it's the feel, it's the verbal notions, it's the communications which goes across, which comes around these areas. So that notion of that understanding of body, as I was saying, is very important. And that's where the partners in adults, once you go, you have to talk about it. You have to understand what somebody else fetish is, whether they want to hear an experience, whether they want to hear your fantasies, whether they want to give the time to your body, to your upper body, to your lower body. Those sort of differences have to come in.
Yep.
That awareness levels have to come in. The pubertal changes, as we're saying, ki what, so body hairs are growing, your genital hairs are growing, you're get starting to getting hard on those. If you know that okay, around this age these kind of changes happen. Similarly for females, menstruation would start happening. So उसको भी स्टिग्मा बना दिया जाता है, people would not know. So I think that's a phase. And there what I have come across especially is that it's a female's job to talk to female. Yes. So I was saying that it's kind of a societal norm which is passed on, that okay, it's a female's body to tell. It's yes, it's more comfortable for females to tell. Yes, it's more easier for them to explain because they've gone through the process and all. But it does not mean that a father or a male, I would say senior in the family, a guardian maybe at times when you don't have somebody else in the family, cannot explain it decently from a distance to these people. Again, notions, I said. So we have our own mental box of very different natures.
But Dr. Mohit, you mentioned that for girls, it is their mothers, and a girl and a mother always have a very different form of a bond in comparison to a father and a son. They talk about
Right.
a lot of things when it's period. So the mother tells the daughter, okay, you need to start using sanitary pads and all those things. But between a son and a father, in most of the Indian families, and I could be wrong in saying this, but yes, what I have observed, I'm sharing that there's always a very wide communication gap. And for the male child, for even for me, at times it was the information being garnered from the surroundings rather than coming from somebody I could have relied on. And I've had my own, share of depression or anxiety going through that journey where I had to go to a psychologist, take medicines, and it took me some amount of time to recover from it, which impacted my studies at that point of time. And it's the case with a lot of people. a lot of boys out there, they might not show it. They would, shrug it off. They would just play it around their machoism, again, coming that, terminology. But silently, they are struggling within. And as they move from teenage to the adulthood, they become habitual, or they become accustomed to it. And that sort of the worries are overtaken by your career choices and the career, pressure that starts to creep in. So, what are
That's
your
that,
thoughts on this?
that's where I said that when we begin this talk, I was talking about that it's not always the direct impact on the sexual process only. It's the implications which come along with it
Yeah,
because of the performance pressure, because of the peer pressure, because of the connection to the masochistic ability. I would say they'll always say, okay, okay, masochism is about how hard you are, how can you perform, how good are you, and but how good looking you are, your personality, your built of the body, your muscular strength, etc., etc. Again, that's the image we have created in our minds, and that's where what possibly what you have experienced, what we various of our colleagues would have experienced, has led us to raise this platform of started to talking about it. We are bringing in the awareness part of these. Let's make a platform open. Let's make it more inclusive. Let's make it more easier to approach as well, so that a person who's coming and raising a query shouldn't feel like, okay यार अब मुझे कुछ यहाँ से बेचा जाएगा. I'll find a I think a more community oriented approach of people coming in talking about the challenges is somebody who's able to guide them, a counselor, a psychologist, a medical physician, or somebody who is more, I would say, a sex educator for that matter, uh, a sexual wellness educator, WHO oriented people who are talking on the domains of sexual wellness. They all can take up these sessions, and they have to be for the masses. You have to make it on the levels of common people's understanding. हम भी अब आज जो बात कर रहे हैं इस सब का फायदा तभी है जब ये ज्यादा लोगों तक पहुंच पाए. ज्यादा लोगों तक पहुंचने का ये है कि जो लोग इसको छुप के सुनना चाह रहे हैं कि पता नहीं सेक्सुअल वेलनेस पे बात कर रहे हैं तो ऐसा क्या बात कर देंगे, क्या बोल देंगे, क्या मैं पेरेंट्स के साथ बैठ के इसको सुन भी सकता हूँ, कोई ऐसी बात होगी, कैसे मैं उनको, हाउ कैन आई हैव दैट आई टू आई कांटेक्ट, और इफ आई एम विद माय सिबलिंग्स, और इफ आई एम विद माय गर्लफ्रेंड और विद माय बॉयफ्रेंड, हाउ शुड आई लिसन. द पर्पस इज कि यार इन चीजों से हट के हमें इस चीज को समझना पड़ेगा कि इट्स नॉर्मल. हमारी सबकी बॉडीज हैं, सबकी बॉडीली नीड्स भी हैं, बट एट द सेम टाइम हम जितना इसको समझेंगे, जितना इसके बारे में अपने डाउट्स को दूर करेंगे, हम शायद उतना ही बेहतर रहेंगे. हम अंदर घुट घुट के मरने से या घुट घुट के प्रेशर लेने से अपना जो बाकी नुकसान करवा रहे हैं उससे ज्यादा अच्छा है कि हम किसी एक ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म पे आके मे बी थ्रू अनोनिमस मीन्स come out, talk about it, and then have that right source of information available.
yeah,
आज आज जैसे मैंने पहले बोला कि सोशल मीडिया एक बहुत बड़ी डुअल एज स्वॉर्ड है. सो इंफॉर्मेशन एंड मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन, वो जो डिफरेंस कम करना है, वो एक बहुत बड़ा ऑब्जेक्टिव है ऐसे टॉक्स का, ऐसे सेशंस का. सो द एस्पेक्ट हमें जो चीज को फोकस करना है वो यही है कि हम कैसे ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म्स प्रोवाइड कर सकते हैं, कैसे ये डिस्कशंस ओपनली हो सकती हैं, whether it's some webinars, whether it's some podcasts, there are community sessions which we can maybe organize right at the time of that teenage age in the schools, or maybe we can do such programs early in colleges in the first year, second years itself, and not wait for them to, okay, come out and open and do it in corporates when they're already maybe have had flings, maybe have had some exposure to those sexual activity. So that safety also matters, that aspect of knowing it, doing it right, and maybe saving from diseases, from sexually transmitted diseases as well, saving ourselves from that exposure of doing it wrongly and then leading it to some problem for other, or at times even missing out on अंडर द परफॉर्मेंस प्रेशर और मिसिंग आउट ऑन पीयर प्रेशर. एंड जैसे आपने बताया कि बाद में कहीं ना कहीं एकेडमिक्स पे, कहीं ना कहीं जॉब परफॉर्मेंस पे उसका असर आए, उसको अननेसेसरी स्ट्रेस के फॉर्म में बॉडी पे लिया जाए, वो भी उसको हटाया जा सकता है. एंड हटाने का मुझे जो लगता है सबसे सही मीन्स यही है कि एन ओपननेस टू अ सर्टेन लेवल इज ऑलवेज would have to be achieved sooner or later.
To building up to the next question, as you rightly mentioned, social media is a double-edged sword out there. I will just evolve on this. I follow Nutshell India, and it's one of the platforms, Instagram channel, I believe is sharing the right sexual information or the sexual health information. I have seen a lot of videos around the myths, debusting the myths around masturbation and a lot of other sexual, topics that are there. But at the same time, in last 4 or 5 years, I have seen an increase in obscenity in a lot of the content that's available for us to consume as a regular medium. I'm not talking about porn. I'm not talking about any adult, movies out there. I'm talking about what's very easily accessible on the television, on our OTT platforms out there. Uh, and at times, it shocks me, sometimes the content that I'm consuming. I would not be taking any particular names of the shows, but one show which has completed over 2000 episodes has been live for, I guess, nearly a decade now, and was one of my favorite childhood shows. Today, a lot of conversations in it surprises me at times that a child 8 years, 9 years is regularly watching it, and the form of dialogues that are being used, or Cartoon Network for that matter, what used to be at our time has completely changed. Uh, Coming out of, again, Shinchan is one of the examples. At times, I just think that's one of the most loved cartoons by a lot of kids. But the form of content that's shown in it, it's really impacting the mindset of a child. And I might be wrong in, deducing this, but I have seen episodes coming in news where probably teenagers for 15, 16 years old are having intercourse. The girl is ending up being pregnant, and the girl has to go through that whole process of abortion and all those things at such a very tender age, where the formation is happening for her whole life ahead. The mental formation and the physical formations are happening. So how can these content be, we do have all the, our boards out there to ensure that they do give a UA rating or A rating to the content. बट कौन रोक रहा है बच्चों को कंज्यूम करने से? ठीक है, नेटफ्लिक्स ने किड सेक्शन अलग दे दिया, एडल्ट सेक्शन अलग है, बट इट इज जस्ट अ टैप अवे.
सही, आज की इंफॉर्मेशन ओवरलोड की एज में ये एज्यूम करना कि हम उनका एक्सपोजर रोक पाएंगे, मुझे लगता है सबसे बड़ा फ्लॉ हमारे लेवल पर यही है। आज हम एक्सेस नहीं रोक सकते। हम अगर कुछ उस चीज को देख सकते हैं तो हम ये देख सकते हैं कि हम उस एक्सेस को पॉजिटिव डायरेक्शन में कैसे लेके जा सकते हैं। अ, आपके ही एग्जाम्पल को कोट करते हुए कि सो देयर इज अ शो व्हिच टेल्स somebody getting pregnant at a teenage age and then having to go through the process of abortion, etc. Can we make it that ways that we tell that okay, these are the challenges which you can possibly face? Can we raise कंटेंट ऑन दैट लेवल कि ओके ऐसा कुछ होगा तो इससे ये मेडिकल कॉम्प्लिकेशंस लाइफ में आ सकती हैं, इनके ये साइड इफेक्ट्स भी हो सकते थे, इस चीज का ये नुकसान भी हो सकता था। दिस इज हाउ सेक्सुअली ट्रांसमिटेड डिजीजेस कुड अकर। सो यू हैव टू हैव सेफ मीन्स assuming that people will not have intercourse or because you say no 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 no। सी अपनी, जैसे हम कहते हैं इंसान की प्रवृत्ति है, जो चीज को मना किया जाएगा वो सबसे पहले उस चीज को सोचेगा, उस चीज की तरफ चलेगा। सो
यस.
बजाय के मना करने के क्या हम कुछ ऐसा तरीका ढूंढ सकते हैं कि हम उसको उसके बारे में जल्दी बता पाए, ज्यादा बता पाए, सो दैट उसकी जो एक हमारी ह्यूमन नेचर है टू एक्सप्लोर, to trying to find out different things around a particular subject, any subject it could be. If there is right information available through the right means at the right age, it would make things easier rather than complicated by hiding it away. As we said, कि आज आप कितना रोक लोगे? आज आप YouTube पे जाओ, you search anything, you will find anything and everything available.
That's true.
Well, half of the filters, there are ways and means to upscale
But
those filters. There is ways and means of people, and the children are smart enough to bypass those links
yep,
today. As the right way would be to ensure at our level that we are able to guide them properly. We are able to tell them that, okay, this is the reason. These are the kind of aspects you have to be cautious about. These are the challenges which can possibly come. आप जो टीवी पे देख रहे हो, ये इसका ये नुकसान भी हो सकता है। वो चीज का अगर हम उसको रोकने की, बंद करने की कोशिश करेंगे, वो नहीं हो पाए। फिर वही बात आ जाएगी कि हमें एक रिस्ट्रिक्टेड सोसाइटी बनना पड़ेगा, और रिस्ट्रिक्टेड सोसाइटी में लोग छुप के करेंगे, लोग भाग के करेंगे, लोग बात नहीं करेंगे। रेदर हमें एक ऐसी सोसाइटी बनना पड़ेगा जो एक गाइडिंग सोसाइटी है। आई डोंट से कि वी बिकम अ वेस्टर्नाइज्ड ओपन सोसाइटी वेयर पीपल आर सिटिंग आउट एंड ओपन एंड न्यूड, दे आर कंफर्टेबल विद इट, of course, from where the culturally it's acceptable, it's okay. We understand that in our country it's not culturally acceptable, and maybe in next 20 years also it will not be. But at the same time, we can be a guiding society. We can talk about the right ways, the right means, and I think from every possible ways and means, be it schools, be it at government level initiative, be it at public private enterprises, be it at the counseling sites, the education, the awareness, it has to come from all. अगर हम सोचेंगे सिर्फ आज मैं और आप बात कर रहे हैं, या मे बी 4 इंस्टाग्राम पे चैनल हैं, 2 यूट्यूब पे चैनल हैं। सो डॉक्टर गरिमा, एज आई वाज सेइंग, जो हमारी पार्टनर है, शी हैज बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस फॉर लास्ट 4 years, 4 5 years. She has tried to make the content around every aspect of sexual health, male, female, teenage, and she is very widely followed as well. But at the same time, जो चैलेंज है कि आज हम अगर लेट्स से 30 35 40 लोगों के, लाख लोगों तक भी पहुंच रहे हैं, या मे बी 1 करोड़ तक भी पहुंच रहे हैं, हम एक 145 करोड़ जनता का पार्ट है, विच इज ग्रोइंग एट अ रैपिड, हम तब भी सब तक नहीं पहुंच पाएंगे,
agreed.
unless that it's a multiplication of efforts from all ways and means. And that multiplication would start happening when first we accept that, okay, this is a concern in our societal way of living, in or maybe in our way of believing. That in itself leads a very thought-provoking generational change. It would need a drastic change in the thought process itself. Unless we do that, it will be very difficult.
No, I totally agree. I totally align with this, what you've just shared, Dr. Mohit, that we need to be the guiding force, we need to be the guiding beacon. Uh, and as you rightly put across, that we cannot be a restricted society, we have to be an open society. And I believe that's very necessary to start the dialogue out there. Now, I would like to understand, since we've been talking a lot about male sexual health out here, men's sexual health, masturbation is often looked at as a very derogatory thing. It has often been, put in the boy's brain कि ये गलत है. But, and since you're the doctor coming from the medical profession, you will be able to, set the context right on this. I might be saying it in a very haphazard or unstructured manner. I believe it's often necessary to ease out the genital pressure as well. Uh, the too much production of testosterone, semen, and all those things. At times, it might be required. What age, what quantity, I'm not sure. I would like you to spread some, light on this, awareness on this. And what are some of the myths? Because when I was a teenager, it used to be like eyesight चली जाएगी, बाल उससे जैसे झड़ रहे हैं आपके. You will become, you will lose your memory power. uh I don't know, XYZ. There were multiple myths coming in. So if you can share some of the myths and debunk them
So
and the overall.
you've tapped on the biggest concern what comes from teenagers. I would not only teenagers, even early adulthood. I would say this is the major concern. The aspect here is सबसे पहले तो ये जानना कि masturbation is a physiological process of relieving yourself. Not physiological, yes, you have to put in an additional effort, but the process of relieving your genital pressure, the semen overload, I would say, is the normal process. What it enables your prostate is to recycle or work as a cyclic process. Once the load is gone from the body, new sperms are being made. It keeps the system activated. So there is no harm in masturbating. How often to do it? Each one has a different response. There is no consensus per se on these aspect of it. To once in 2 days, once in 3 days, once in 7 days, once in a month, or 2 times in a day, 3 times in a day. Oh, the different people would say different things. Again, it's a personal notion at my end. I see that medically, when we say, we always say that it takes 2 to 3 days for the sperm count to come back to normal once you have ejaculated. So I think that that's what you can possibly think on if you have to do it safely, soundly. Maybe once in 2, 3 days, you relieve your pressure. At times, what happens is when you're not able to relieve your pressure, you've had sexual erections coming in, you people would have nightfall in their dreams. They would feel. Again, you have to understand that nightfall is the brain's way of telling you that okay, there was enough pressure being built in, it needed to be relieved. If
Yeah.
you are not doing it, the brain would do it on its own. So there is no shying away from that fact as well. Another aspect, what we were talking about, the myths around it. बाल झड़ते हैं बिकॉज टेस्टोस्टेरोन लेवल बढ़ता है. हम नॉर्मली बात कर रहे थे, उसका मैस्टरबेशन से कुछ लेना देना नहीं. बॉडी में चेंजेस आते हैं, इट्स पार्ट ऑफ प्यूबर्टल चेंजेस. योर फेशियल, योर बॉडी हेयर्स वुड इंक्रीज, योर स्कैल्प हेयर्स, एंड्रोजेनिक एलोपेशिया वुड कम इन, वो लेवल डाउन आएगा, बाल झड़ेंगे. सिमिलरली आई साइट वीक होगी, कमजोर पड़ जाओगे, आपकी बॉडी में स्ट्रेंथ नहीं रहेगी. डिफरेंट डिफरेंट नोशंस, देर ऑल फॉल्स प्रिटेंसेस. ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है. Some people do get used to, because it's a stimulant to your brain. That experience of relieving that pleasure is somewhat, I would say, habit. A person finds a pleasure, he tries to do it over and over again. It becomes a habit. That's where you don't have to go. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि you're not able to do anything about it, आपको करना है, you have to masturbate, तो मतलब आपका और कहीं फोकस ही नहीं लग पाता है, there is a particular, वो, then it becomes challenging. That's where you need professional help. You need to talk to a counselor, a guiding counselor, or to a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or maybe a physician per se, and urologist. But you would have to take some sort of professional help if you're not able to control. If it's within your control timings, if you are able to decor, you're just doing a physiological process of relieving the genital load, nothing else. But that's the kind of differentiation we would have to do. Uh, Again, people would say, okay, what, how much time does it take? And all. Again, it's all in the mind. Each and every person is different. Some people would take just 5 minutes to get excited. Some people might take 20 minutes to get excited. Some might take 30 minutes. There is no set benchmark for such things. So don't
Um,
go on to कि कोई क्या बोल रहा है कैसे है, different these things, but you should not be wasting so much time every now and then.
um, Again, social media is filled with too much information. A lot of it could be wrong, it could be right as well. I was recently listening to Instagram reel by one of the influencers, I would say, on Instagram, and he had very openly and very extrovertly put out there that a lot of males who have been just had access to masturbation throughout their life up till their late 20s, when they get into the sexual activity or the intercourse, they have scenarios or instances of premature ejaculation. And it's because of the masturbation that they have been doing for a very long time. And they didn't have any direct sexual activity, they didn't have a sexual partner out there. So it has impacted their overall stamina of controlling their ejaculation out there. So what are your thoughts on this? Is it related or it's a totally a myth?
See, if you see on how it could be related, yes, there are ways. So because when you're masturbating, the whole process is to ejaculate ASAP, or the kind of, so that to reach the climax as soon as possible, to reach that height, that peak of pleasure, the sooner is the
Yep.
focus area. So person would try to go fast and fast and fast. If that side of mindset becomes in, your brain kind of gets used to on the signals and stimulus of those sorts. The moment you go into sexual activity with your partner, into the intercourse, if it, your brain would start to act on similar grounds. That's when I said it's all in the brain. You would have to give your brain timing. You would have to slow down your process. You would have to take it the intercourse in a slow and steady manner. You would have to do some exercises, Kegels as well. Kegel is one of the basic exercises to increase your performance in sexual health. So the fundamental remains कि because आप masturbation में हो, वो process is to accelerate the process to reach it sooner, and in intercourse, the expectation is to delay it as much as possible. There are two antagonistic things. So if you're in your early exposures, you've had too much of masturbation, your brain is used. You need to give time, or you need to be actively aware about it. So there are active thoughts, meditation, yogic exercises. They'll help in delaying that ejaculation. So that would lead to the fundamental of premature ejaculation is again on two aspects. One is clinical premature ejaculation. Second is psychological. 90% of the times we find that when we're talking about premature ejaculation, it's an issue of psychological issues more rather than the clinical issues. Only 10 to 15% of people actually have clinical issue where they would be needing certain interventions in terms of medicine or in terms of active products for that matter. Uh, 80% of the time, it is controllable by your thoughts, by your mental exercising, by being aware of why it's happening.
Understood. Um, can you share some of the healthier masturbation habits which, boys can put in place or can, look at as a guiding force for a healthier sexual and satisfying?
I might not be the right person to guide on that, but yes, I can give you few hygiene tips. What has to be there? When
Yep.
it says hygiene tips is one, always if somebody has masturbated, clean yourself well. Even if not with masturbation, your genital cleaning is very important. Usually, I've seen many males not have that cleanliness around in terms of your genital area per se, your genital hairs, and regular cleaning, regular upkeep of the area is important. You would have to kind of cleanse your peripenal areas as well. Your prepuce has to be dried, removed, scrubbed. So that helps you in long run, because if you're maintaining that normal hygiene for longer around the penis area and the penile sensitive it helps later on in your life when there are chances of cancers, or when there are chances of infections occurring in that gets you down. Per se, as you, if you say ways of masturbation, I don't think there is any set way I can put it right in the word. Maybe there will be psychologists who can help that in a better, or there are certain sex educators who can take it up. I, being a physician, I don't know whether I'll be saying it rightly or not, so I would refrain myself from that. But yes, personally, as I said, we talk a lot about female hygiene and wash, and you will see vaginal wash, pH balanced, all that coming in. For males, there are products available. People are not even aware they're available.
Yes. Um,
So that factor has to be set in.
you have been using this term Kegel a lot of times in the podcast. So if you can, share what exactly is Kegel and how does it help in the
So,
sexual?
so Kegel is a set of exercises. So it's a set of exercises similar to how we see yoga, mudras, and all.
Yep.
Similarly, Kegel is the westernized version of certain mudras and certain exercises which help build your pelvic floor muscles.
Okay.
They help strengthen for both males and females. It helps not only for the process of intercourse, for your erections or for delaying your ejection. It also helps postpartum for somebody who is delivered, for tightening your vaginas and all that. So these are a set of exercises which are related to that. They're very easily available on all the medias, social media, YouTube, etc. You go and Google out, you will find a chart. Even if you want, I can possibly give you few links post this podcast, which you can share with the audience of good Kegel exercises. Kegel forms the basis when we're talking about strengthening physical ability, strengthening your pelvic floor muscles. This is the basic strengthening exercise. It's like how we go to gym for building up our shoulders, our chest, and all. Similarly, for genital area strengthening for both males and females, Kegel is the base.
Understood. Understood. Um, Dr. Mohit, if you would have to summarize a male's sexual health, what would be 3 or 5 points where you would put it? One would be your actual sexual health, the sexual intercourse, things coming around that. But what would be the other points? Because for majority, that's the only thing that's encompasses under sexual health. But as a doctor, what are the different factors or different areas which covers the sexual health?
So when it comes to male sexual health, I would say it starts from number one, realizing the pubertal changes early in your teens. That's where we started. And I think we've had a lot of discussion of that around today. Second is the myths and facts about masturbation, the process, how normal it is, those aspects. Uh, then the process of intercourse per se. I would say the expectations, the elements there, what we was talking about in terms of duration, in terms of ability, in terms of size, those notions, all of those have to go. Fourth is the derivative of the process. When I say the derivative of the process, the final pleasure or the final outcome of the process needs to be your mental satisfaction and not just a climax or a climactic reach, maximum reach. I say when you say sexual wellness, it's being aware about your body, it's being aware about your priorities, it's being about even aware about your orientation of whom you like, whom you dislike, whom you are comfortable with. At the same time, even the processes which are not sexual per se of cuddles, hugs, they relieve a lot of stress on your body. So a good 30 to 40-second hug is equal to letting your cortisols down by almost 7 or 8 days of stress gets reduced in that. So those kind of aspects are also the part of it. It's not only and only sexual intercourse. Then when it comes to relationships, I would say either marital, premarital, or in general casual relationships. What is important is understanding your partner, having that freedom to connect with them on both the fronts, emotional, sexual, and discussing things out and open, discussing what sort of experiences you want to have in your sexual life. So that elements all together, it encompasses the whole field of sexual wellness for what I would go about it. And later, when once we are past the ages of 50 and 6, so as I said, hygiene is one part, but post 50, 60, we males have tendency to form prostate cancer. There is so examinations of that rightly by the right people at the right time, being aware of the challenges in terms of if there is stone formation, there will be there could be pain in the penis, there could be stones in the urethra, those kind of aspects. Similarly, if the prostate is enlarged, there could be problem in maturation. If there is a UTI occurring, urinary tract infections occurring, or certain diseases. So being aware around those aspects as well, although they'll encompass somewhat something separate together, but I personally think that those all informations are equally important.
Agreed. Something very funny, or I would say lack of awareness. For a very long time before I entered this healthcare field, I used to feel that UTI can only happen to females. Males have nothing to do with UTI. And it was a myth busted for me by one of my doctor friends out there when I started exploring the wellness and natural healing field, that I got to know, okay,
Uh,
UTI can also
I'll,
have
I'll I'll
something.
tell you a lot of people who have UTIs in males, the kind of pain they feel is unbearable. It becomes very difficult for them to pee altogether at will. So the burning, the pain, the process, and then they realize that okay, because we've not been conscious about the genital health, about the genital cleanliness, all those factors, even about our active lifestyle in terms of sexual health, then they start talking or making. So this is usually the case with majority of the people, I would say. Only a fraction of the population today is aware about these aspects.
Um, Another important thing I would, like you to shed some light on is the difference between semen and testosterone and the use of both. Why are they important for a male's body?
So testosterone is a hormone in the body. It's not only male, it's there in females as well. It's produced, the levels are different. It's the male where the testosterone is the dominant hormone. It's the where that balance is more dominant towards the male side. It's what gives you the masculinic features. When I say masculinic features, the body hairs, the beard, the mustache, all that comes from levels of. So it kind of accelerates the process. It gives your muscles the strength as well of doing somewhat additional abilities than what we see in females. And semen is just that's the collection, that's the liquid which is formed by the prostate, goes through your penis. It's the I would say in simpler terms, लोगों के लिए उसके लिए जो आपके स्पर्म्स का टोटल लोड कैरी करने का एक सॉल्यूशन। Sperms are just a small part of it because each semen load would be what, 8 to 10 ml, and within that there'll be some multi millions of sperms going in with each load. So semen is that ejaculation, that white liquid solution what comes out of your penis in for the common man's understanding. Testosterone is what runs in your blood. It goes and does its processes as other, as we say, zinc is there, iron is there in your body. It's similarly, there's a hormone in the body which does its part and gives you your masculinic features.
Understood. And how is the level of testosterone linked with having a physical exercise out there? Being very active with your fitness regime and being going out for walk or playing around or going for any form of workout. How does it really impact our testosterone level? Vis-a-vis, how does it impact our sexual performances?
See, testosterone levels, there is a basic level needed to perform well in terms of sexual activity. But beyond that, if we say we are too increased in testosterone levels and will have more of sexual ability, I am not uh, somebody who will advocate that. Yes, testosterone levels, there is a physiological range needed. We have to achieve that. It happens in normally in body. In case we're missing out, especially there are certain elements when we say lack of physical activity, obesity, the fat present around the genital area, all that leads to lesser testosterone levels. If you're exercising, if you're more active in your physical life, if you're eating good foods, there are a lot of foods which can boost your testosterone levels, lot of abilities, they can help you out. But at the end, what you need to be, so physical activity is the core. Once you are very active physically and your body is well, I don't think there is a reason you will not have adequate testosterone levels, unless there is some physiological or I would say pathological disability coming in. So
Understood.
that's the factor. What helps, what usually is shown or what has been seen is if you have too high testosterone levels, a person tends to get more masochistic. That's the aspect of shown. बहुत मसल बहुत वो है, बहुत aggressive हो जाता है, बहुत गुस्सा. Some part of it is true, not all of it. it gives you that abilities to a certain extent, but it does not make you over aggressive male and will go and fight with 16 bullets, and that happens in movies, not in real life.
Understood. Understood. So one of the, final questions I would like to ask Dr. Mohit is the importance of using condoms in your sexual life.
So I would say for safe and secure sex, it's very important, especially when in case you have a very active lifestyle, or in case you are planning for the family. I mean that you are doing family planning, you are delaying your kids. It helps you out very effectively. What There are a lot of misconceptions out there again when it comes to usage. Again, it's a taboo kind of thing. People आज भी छुप छुप के मांगेंगे, although it still come out much easily than it was a decade ago. But at the same time, what people feel that they'll have less sensitivity,
Yeah,
they'll feel less, or there'll be certain uneasiness around it. That's not the case. These are very thin latex or product silicone condoms which are available today. There are different forms, ribbed, this, which accelerates your performance of it, accelerates the sensitivity around the genital areas for both males and females. Similarly, condoms are not always a male thing. There are female condoms also available in the market. That again is a misnomer people don't know about. People will always say कि okay, condoms are male की चीज है. ऐसा नहीं होता है. So it's available for both. At the same time, if you are sexually active with multiple partners, I think you should always be using this.
understood. Understood. I have seen, a lot of ads that come on television. They are always around the thinness of the condom, especially the male condoms. I don't think so. There has been ever a ad around female condom on television. If it has been, I've never come across it. And I believe a lot of awareness is required on that area as well, because even today in India, a lot of males are not ready to wear condoms. For them, often it becomes a sign of prestige that I'm not going to be wearing it, or I, again, myths being around that मेरे को मजा नहीं आता है, I don't feel hard on after wearing a condom. So those are the things, and because of that they don't wear. But yes, then the female has the alternative to wear a female condom. And
See, that's for the safety of the female, in terms of when she is aware, she can make herself secure even when the male counterpart is not ensuring. But I personally see that males should be encouraged to wear it. They should always be conscious of that they could be transmitting uh, a possible infection at times to the female counterparts, or in case of multiple active lifestyles, they could be. It's not secure. It's not safe for both of them or either of them for that matter. So, yes, as you said rightly, there are a lot of males who are not comfortable wearing, but that level of education, that level of discussions would have to be raised. I think there's a lot of work which has happened around that in the industry. As we're talking, the thinness, the various features, the uh, people would come with flavors and all, etc. There are all ways and means to increase that acceptance. It's all to increase compliance in different aspects. But I think the moment females also get to know that there are females option, but that is not a deterrent for a male to not wear one. It should not be a deterrent also. It
understood.
it it both of them would have to go hand in hand, simultaneous aspects of
Yeah,
both of them are available and they could choose.
I think it's for the pleasure of both.
True,
So
true.
yeah. uh so Dr. Mohit, one final question around the male sexual health is erectile dysfunction. What it is, what are the myths around it, and how can it be cured?
I would say that's the biggest clinical challenge what we feel, and that's a maximum. Again, there are cases where it's psychological. There are cases where half of it is counseling and half of it is where the medicines work. But we have to understand that it's real. This is a challenge. So when we say erectile dysfunction, basically it means that there is a male who is not able to have proper erections to a sexual stimulus, and that non-erection is the cause of his physical trauma, as well as it becomes a very significant emotional and psychological factor for him because he's not able to perform. And usually, what happens is in our society, it's linked that okay, male performance is his machism,
Yeah,
and he is no longer a male who is not able to perform, pisaddi hai, etc., etc. People will use different sort of terms, etc. But it's a physical challenge. It needs to be shown. There are ways and means medically, surgically, supplements wise, diet wise, counseling wise, where some part of it could be reversed. Of course, there are certain elements, certain stages where even those might not be able to help. But it's a long therapy, and you have to be patient to go through the same for people. I would just want to say for people who have had that challenge, one, not lose hope. There are options available. Reach out to people, reach out to, I would say, to people like us, to people like there are board care, to people like who are urologists, to people who are in the sex therapies. There are a lot of options available through Ayurveda, through Unani medicines as well. You can reach out to them as well. I am somebody who would say that it's your choice to opt for whichever sort of therapy you want to, whether be it an alternative medicine or an allopathic medicine or the yogic. But at the same time, give it due course of time because it will take some time for you to start showing results on that.
understood. Just one final question on this related to ED itself, where navigating ED in a marriage, how can that be done? Because often it becomes a point of where relationships are broken, or as you said, that getting erection or not able to get erection becomes a question on that male's messagism out there that you're not a man. And it's often shown, it's somewhere or the other the influence the influence of the media as well, where the media has also portrayed that if a male is not able to get erections, he's not a man. A lot of Sasbo sagas have put this across. How can couples come together to navigate this problem into a healthy communication out there?
As I think you've answered in your question itself, this has to begin with a very healthy communication. That's the first part of it, the first step of being open to communication, to listening to each other, uh, going together as a couple to therapies is something which I think is more beneficial because then whatever is being told to one partner is also being told to the other partner as well. Both of them are well informed in terms of what sort of challenges it might have, whether it's psychological, whether it's emotional, whether there are, in many cases, we have seen it's related to some childhood abuse a person might have faced. So that emotional bonding could occur through the process for couples. And that can only be done if they're going to therapy together or as a couple. If person is hiding and going as a therapy, he'll get the therapy that there's no challenge to it, but it will not be, it might not be as effective as it could be if they're going as a couple. If somebody is facing this as a challenge even before he is into a relationship, or maybe sometimes, unfortunately, when the relationship has ended already, I would still say that should not stop him from taking the therapy. That should not stop him from going and finding out the means to correct the disorder. But if you have a partner, make them or bring them along, make them listen to the challenge, have that transparency with each other of whatever the issue has come in and how it could be sorted out together.
I believe the same thing as you mentioned, that parents need to be, observant and open to their children. I believe the either of, the female partner needs to give that safe space or openness for her husband to come and be able to talk about it.
I think not only the female partner, both the partners have to be open to listening to each other. So there are we see a lot of females. Once we start talking about the issues in the female health, maybe when Dr. Garima is there in the next chats, we will start raising that factor as well of that it's not so both sexes have their own set of challenges. They have their own set of inhibitions. They have their own set of miscommunications or wrong assumptions through their early understandings of the whole process of the whole education around, or maybe the whole aspect of sexual health per se. So both of them need to talk to each other. Both of them needs to have that comfort level with each other as a couple. I think that's the whole meaning of a relationship. It's not only the process of intercourse. The whole process of binding together, joining each other in terms of mentally, physically, emotionally is what is required for these therapies, for these wellness acts to help. The other aspects of it, the medicines, the supplements, the foods, the guides, the exercises would be a top up.
Understood.
The
Understood.
core remains them being understanding and open to listening to each other.
Thanks to Dr. Mohit. Any final thoughts for our listeners out there?
I would say it's been a very exhilarating session, and I have tried to bring in the fact, and I would kind of conclude saying by the same thing: start talking about it. Let's try to become a guiding society. Let's try to become a discussing society first. Maybe not if open, but discussion is the way forward in this area.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. And listeners, it has been our, you know, effort to bring this topic to you. अगर आपको लगता है कोई टॉपिक है, कोई क्वेश्चन है आपका, you can feel free to reach out to us. Comments में आप, you can leave a comment to us or you can DM us on our social media handles. I will be sharing details of Dr. Mohit in the description below, so you can reach out to him as well directly. And if there is any other topic that you would like us to discuss on or answer any of your queries, please feel free to share. Remember, it is a safe space for you to reach out to us. Feel free to share and be, rest assured that none of your personal details are going to be shared anywhere. We don't capture your personal details in any manner out there until you don't give us the permission. So until next time, please stay tuned, do subscribe to us, and we are listening and we are here to help you. Thank you.